Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone and everything in between, welcome to the Stay Positive Podcast, episode 52. So, we like to talk about life and stuff, and maybe even a bit of human existentialism, but with humanity comes evolution, and as humans, we go in stages. We start as a baby. We go from baby to child, child to young man, and from young man. Very few can attribute this to themselves, but we go from young man to marathon man. And today I am joined by two marathon men. I'm Alex, and I am with
Pete, your co-host, and
Marcus Smith, your guest.
Yeah, my buddy Marcus. Brought him along because he thinks he's super tough and super hard. So we had to peer into his psyche a little bit and get to know who the real hard person is here.
Nice.
So, the whole deal is, I talked about an event that I had a few weeks ago that I was training for. And this person to my left is the person that I was training with. Now, albeit I have to take full accountability for my lack of 13 miles of a race here. I ran a half marathon because I'm not cool enough to have type 1 diabetes.
Wow, not cool enough. Okay.
And I couldn't qualify for the New York Marathon. So, without further ado, Marcus, please tell us about yourself and why you are so special.
Well, at least I can kind of ride like the short bus now and get all the good parking spots and like parking lots from the light blue ones because I got a disability. My name's Marcus. I grew up in the tennis scene here in the eastern section. I used to play Alex and I remember we played a doubles tournament at Glen Cove. Do you remember that?
It's true. We were amazing.
Yeah, it was a good time. I remember I never played with someone who had that really good of a serve, and his kick serve was just crazy. It was just bouncing out of the building. It was insane. It was a really good time.
Good times by all. Your serve was probably like a million miles faster than mine, though, so it was a good team.
Yeah, no, we had a good time, and so why I'm so special? I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes almost 2.5 years ago, so that was fun. Yeah, and of course that's also how I met Pete. So the story of how that goes is I was playing a tennis tournament at a park in Queens called the Tatangs Cup, run by Filipinos. And I made the semifinals, and I was playing this kid named Pete. He had a bunch of Boston University stuff on. I was like, all right, whatever this means, right?
He probably doesn't. He's not that good yet.
Yeah, we'll see. Little did I know that my pancreas had already shut down for like multiple weeks. And I go into that match, and I remember it's just super hot, and I'm dying out there. And I usually do pretty well in the heat, but I'm absolutely dying. Pete is just absolutely kicking my ass. And I'm like, crap, is this guy this good, or am I that shit? Like, what is it? I can't figure it out. And then, like, within the next 5 days afterwards, I lose 16 pounds. I cannot stop drinking water. I have to urinate every 5 seconds. And I mean literally, like, I had to go to the bathroom literally every few minutes. I had blurry vision. I was, like, falling asleep at the wheel. So about after 5 days of this, I decided to check myself into hospital because I thought, well, this isn't really normal. I don't lose weight like this that much. A couple pounds here and there if I fluctuate from playing tennis, but never 15, 16 pounds. So I weighed about 168 pounds, took myself in the hospital. They said, well, what's going on? I said, this, yada, yada. They pricked my finger. I guess it's just a standard test they do, and the reading said 504. And they were like, are you diabetic? I said, what the fuck? I said, no. What are you talking about? Diabetics are like fat people who just eat a bunch of sugar, right? Oh, that's what I said in my head. I didn't tell the doctor that. But, and I'm like, can you do that test again? And she does it again. It's like 484. She's like, honey, you have type 1 diabetes. And I was like, what? Can you please do that again? And then I had the whole explanation of what it was. And I remember before the nurse left, she was like, okay, do you need anything else? I was like, wait, 1 second. Are you sure there's no cure for this? Like, this is it? Like, I'm fucked? She's like, yeah. And then from then on, just kind of the process of getting used to having the disease and just kind of, dealing with it and really comprehending what has happened to me after living 22 years of my life a certain way that I realized it's never going to be the same. It took a while mentally, but it all started in that hospital room.
It's nuts, dude. I remember so vividly playing Marcus that day. And look, granted, Marcus, like he said, he thought that I was playing great, right? I didn't think it was anything special of a match, but I knew for a fact, I knew he was a good player before, because I mean, we all trained in the East, we all saw each other in tournaments and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just remember feeling like I was outlasting him way too easily, because it was a tough day, and I was definitely not feeling like I was perfect, like out of the woods. But I would just play maybe 5 or 10 balls every rally, and I just see him heaving after every single point. I was like, huh, this guy's played in college. He's in good shape. This makes kind of no sense, so I'm just gonna do it more. I'm gonna just grind a little harder and keep pushing
God,
it.
It was rough.
No mercy.
Yeah, and so after that, I mean, after that tournament and everything, I remember we exchanged numbers. We started playing more tennis, everything, and then the first time that we met after, I think it was literally 6 months later when I was back home from school after a semester, and we meet up in Roslyn to play tennis. And you tell me this whole story, how literally 2 or 3 days later you get diagnosed with T1D. And I'm just like, whoa. So that's why I beat you so easily.
Oh God, no! It made all sense. Yeah, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, so Alex, I don't know how much you know about type 1 diabetes, but basically Marcus has a patch. You can explain this way better than me, but Marcus has a patch attached to him, or some little thing attached to him.
Yeah, so to briefly explain, I've got 2 devices on my body at all times. One of them is a continuous glucose monitor, which is also short, CGM for short. That's a little needle that goes into, it measures from my interstitial fluid how much glucose I have in my blood, and it measures that every 5 minutes. That's so that, if you've ever seen a diabetic kind of like ever prick their finger, yeah, and do like a blood test, that's so that I don't have to do that. So I've got that device in me. I usually have it on my upper arms, abdomen, or sometimes my upper butt. And then I have an insulin pump, which is another device. It's got adhesive in it. It sticks a cannula into my skin, and I load up the pump with insulin. And it continuously gives me insulin throughout the day, which is called my basal levels, which basically keeps... Basically, every hour, your body releases glucose into your bloodstream. And you need insulin to counteract that to keep your blood sugar level steady. So I have that rolling all the time. And then when I need to eat something with carbohydrates, let's say I want to have a Chipotle bowl, it's got about 85, 90 grams of carbs in it from like the brown rice, beans, all that. Then I give myself what's called bolus insulin, which is basically insulin for the meal to cover my blood sugar from going so high.
Not nuts.
Question. I have question.
Of course.
You can eat carbs as a diabetic?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a misnomer with type 1 diabetes that you can't eat carbs, can't eat sugar, all that. No, that's not true. You just need insulin for it. It's highly encouraged to eat a normal diet, or at least a healthier diet with type 1 diabetes. So I do eat carbs, yes. In fact, I eat a lot of them.
Wow. I always thought when you have type 1 diabetes or any diabetes, it's basically game over for bread and pasta and rice and all that stuff. It's like that's just a huge no-no.
It's not. It depends on what type of carbs you're eating. So the carbs that are like anything that's white, so like white rice, bread, kind of like white pasta, that has a very high glycemic index score, which means the glucose enters into your bloodstream a lot quicker, so then it's much harder to control. Whereas if you eat brown rice, whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread, it has a much lower glycemic index, so that it kind of gradually releases energy into your system, and therefore the insulin has more time to work.
So you basically have to eat all the browns and dark, like whole wheat style of grains, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do. A lot of diabetics don't. A lot of diabetics just don't give a shit, which I find bizarre, but I care. So yeah, I do basically. I mean, you ask Pete anytime I go to Chipotle, brown rice, all the time, and it's much better. I mean, this doesn't go for just for diabetics. Really, this goes for anybody, because your blood sugar is going to spike whether or not you have diabetes or not. It's just that your guy's pancreas is work and mine doesn't. So.
I mean, wow, you learn something new every day. I never knew that. I always thought you just couldn't eat it and you had to find substitutes. But that that makes me, I don't know, that makes me feel happy that you get to enjoy all the stuff I get to enjoy.
Yeah, I still do, and I lay off. So I don't eat any. I try not to eat anything processed besides like bread and pasta and stuff. But any sort of ice cream, hamburgers, pizza, all that, I completely cut out of my diet. Maybe like once every 3 or 4 months I'll indulge, but otherwise I eat relatively clean. Yeah.
On a relatively related note, sort of, you also he told me that barbecue sauce is one of those things that's just you cannot eat it. It's got the mother load of sugar in it, and I
Yeah,
had no idea.
correct. Yeah, anything that has added sugar in it, it messes you up completely. There's a misconception within the diabetes community, and I've read in books that if you eat the same amount of carbs, it will bring up your blood sugar the same amount, and it's complete hearsay. If you eat 10 grams of carbs from an apple and you eat 10 grams of added sugar from barbecue sauce, the 10 grams from the barbecue sauce will skyrocket your blood sugar. Meanwhile, from the apple, it'll do it nice and gradually so it's easily controllable.
Wow. I had no idea. I just thought everything kind of works the same. Shows how much I know.
Alex is thinking about all the times he's had barbecue sauce.
Yeah, me too, dude. I remember the first time you told me. I was kind of freaked out. But okay, so I actually want to know this a little better because I genuinely don't. And my grandfather, right now, he has type 2 diabetes, but I don't really understand the big difference. So can you explain that?
Absolutely. So, type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas, the immune system is attacking your pancreatic cells I believe they're called beta cells that deliver insulin into your blood. They attack those, and basically your quote unquote pancreas just shuts off. So, you're technically producing insulin, but as soon as you produce it, the cell that transfers it to your blood is immediately killed off by T cells from the immune system.
So it's an
So,
autoimmune disorder.
correct. It is an autoimmune disorder. Yeah. So there's that. So basically, your pancreas completely shuts off. You gotta take extravenous insulin all the time. Otherwise, you die within 3 weeks. Type 2 diabetes is when you are insulin resistant. So that means, for example, think of it this way: you have your blood and your muscles and your cells all need glucose. And in order for glucose to get into these cells, you need a key to unlock the door. Insulin is the key. Now, if you're exercising, or if you're relatively thin or you're lean, it's much easier for your cells to take in glucose without a key or with like a little amount of keys, right? So then it kind of just sucks it in easier. But if you don't move all day and then you eat like a piece of cake, your cells in your body are saying, "Nah, I'm good. I already have enough glucose in here. We don't need any more." But you're trying to jam it in. So what happens is if you don't have those keys, or if those keys are basically the the person on the other side of the door says, "Nope, we don't want you anymore." All that leftover glucose that has been distributed through your system is now just hanging around in your blood. And that's what happens when you have type 2 diabetes. It just hangs in your blood. So you're still producing insulin, except your body doesn't know how to use it properly. Does that make sense?
It's rejecting it, basically.
Correct. It's rejecting it. It's saying we don't. It's not rejecting the insulin. It's basically saying, but we don't need any. We have the room is full here. We don't need any more glucose.
What happens to the glucose that didn't get in?
Very good question. One, if your blood sugar rises above 180 milligrams per deciliter. So for reference, an average person like you guys are anywhere between 70 and 120 or maybe 140 milligrams per deciliter of glucose in your blood. If you start to go above 180, it leaks into your urine, so then you will urinate it out. And if you're above 250 milligrams per deciliter, your body will begin to burn off fat and muscle, and it'll make your blood basically acidic in order to burn off the glucose. So that's what happened when I went into the hospital. My blood sugar, if you recall, I was at 500. Yeah, it's something called ketoacidosis. So basically, that's why I was losing all that weight because my body was urinating it out. And then at that point, it was like, we can't urinate it out anymore. We need to burn off his fat and his muscle, which is why I lost so much weight.
Wow.
So your blood is literally eating yourself alive.
Correct. And you are acidic. That's why you need to kind of go to the hospital relatively quickly to bring your blood sugar down before it gets any worse. A lot of people go into a coma before they get to the hospital.
Wow, dude, you could have been really hurt. You could have died even if you had waited maybe a few days longer.
I probably had like another week or two. Yeah, but yeah, it was bad. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm glad that you're here with us now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm really glad you're here now.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's become a normal part of life now.
Pete, why would you destroy a dying man at tennis?
No, respect to Pete for staying hard and doing that. That's what he should have done. That's what he should have done because I was, yeah. It was funny because I noticed over the summer that I was more tired than usual, but I thought it was because maybe I wasn't sleeping as much or something. And like the week before I played that Talk Tongues Cup, I played a tournament. I also noticed I was like really tired. I'm like, I'm usually never this tired. This is kind of weird. I'm going to the bathroom a little bit more often. And then the whole Pete tournament and then thereafter kind of happened. So, yeah. It was probably lingering for a couple of months.
Wow. So Pete was the catalyst that broke the camel's back and made you realize we need to go to the hospital. Pete, you may have saved his life. You're a hero.
Yeah, Pete sent me over the edge. I'm very happy.
You're very welcome.
I'm very happy about that. If there's anybody who's gonna send me over the edge, it better be Pete.
That's beautiful. Okay, so now because of this, your lifestyle has changed completely, right? Like you said, you're constantly checking your blood glucose levels every single day. Like, we could get into this a little more, but you have a little. It's almost like its own kind of. It looks like a remote, honestly, like a remote for LED lights or something. I don't know how to describe it well. You can describe it, but that's basically how you check your blood glucose levels. And you're also an Apple Watch fiend, so you have it there.
Show this to Alex.
Yeah, so he has this app on his phone right now, 124, which is I guess standard, right?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that little square, that little piece of technology, whatever it is, and you're constantly checking it. Like when we're playing tennis, for instance, we were playing yesterday, and every 15 minutes when we take a break, he's like, all right, I gotta check my glucose. I was like, oh, wow. It really doesn't register with you when you don't have something like that, but for you it's probably become a habit now, right? You can't kick that anyway, or else you're
yeah, this has become completely integrated into my life, and it's completely normal. So Alex, for your information, and maybe Pete, actually, maybe if you didn't know this, they did studies. So a diabetic has to make on average 180 decisions a day on what to do.
What does an average person do?
Probably
7.
0 in comparison to me. I'm saying, like, for example, this is how kind of like my daily routine goes. I wake up, I check my blood glucose, right? If I see I'm at an okay number, I got to decide, okay, am I going to eat? Okay, what am I going to eat? How many carbs am I going to have? What's the glycemic index of these carbs? I calculate that all. Then what's my sensitivity level right now? Okay, I didn't really exercise the last few days. I'm probably going to need more insulin, so then I give myself more. And then I check it about an hour later, see where I'm at. If I need more, I'll give myself more. Maybe I'll go for a walk. Usually if I exercise a little bit, it also brings it down. I'm basically doing that all day. So you make about 180 of those decisions all day long. Like if I'm playing tennis with Pete and I see, okay, I started out at a good number and I'm going down, but I know that if we're training kind of hard, I need to drink some Gatorade now so that I don't crash in about 20 minutes. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a whole lot you got to deal with. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. God bless all of you guys, all the type 1 diabetics who do this, or all diabetics. You guys have a level of management skill that some people only dream about having.
Yeah, more power to you, dude. So I wanted to talk about this as well because, like, when we're running, for instance, I'll see you checking your blood glucose level, and I'm wondering, how do you pick the right foods, for instance? Like, are you just constantly checking the nutrition facts and everything? Because when we're running, you're eating those goo packs, or you have those glucose tabs that you get out of CVS or pharmacy, whatever. Do you just literally look at how much added sugar is in every food and try to, funnel out everything that has, just stuff you can't eat?
Not necessarily. So when I'm exercising, I want to eat something or drink or eat something that has a high glycemic index, because what happens is when you exercise, it usually, unless you're doing weight training or something that's very high stress, but if we're running, which is more endurance based, it will bring it down. So if I drink Gatorade, which has a very high glycemic index with added sugar, it goes up quickly because I need it to go up quickly. But that's fine because I know that it's going to burn off again within 40 minutes. So that's why about every 4 or 5 miles, every hour or something, I'll suck down a goo pack or have some glucose tabs. Or if we're playing tennis, I'll drink that Cytomax drink that I have, because that brings it up too quick. But if I were to drink, let's say, orange juice, for example, it has a lower glycemic index, and it would take too long for it to bring my blood glucose up. So then it would drop, and then it would go up. But I don't want it to drop at all while I'm exercising, because then you just feel like crap. So, and I can get a little bit into like what high and low blood sugars feel like. So when you have a high blood sugar, which I consider above 180, kind of in the 200 range, you get extremely dehydrated, you're extremely tired, you get kind of groggy and cranky a little bit, and you just want to bring it down immediately. And when you have a low blood sugar, it feels like you just want to eat the world. Like you can't focus on anything else except for eating, and you start twitching, shaking, sometimes sweating profusely, shivering. If you go way too low, you can obviously pass out, coma, and then if you go to zero, you die.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? I'm like still in shock about all of this. It doesn't register, like I said, because I don't deal with this on a daily basis. Like, I don't have to be so heavily paying attention to all my food. I don't scrutinize every little food choice I make, or at least I didn't used to. I am a lot better with it now as a result of meeting you to an extent, because of all of our training that we did. And so I look at all my diet and all the things that I consume a lot more under a magnifying glass now. And also Alex to an extent as well. He's made a lot of great diet decisions as well lately, but he's still on the road to.
Yeah, perfect health, nirvana. Yeah, I'll reach it. Don't worry. Uh, did Pete tell you about what I did? I've already told the podcast like a million times, but did Pete tell you?
No, it didn't.
So I cut off soda for like the last year. So I've officially gone over a year without drinking soda. So
Congratulations.
thank you. It's basically one of my life highlights so far.
Yeah, no, soda is a completely useless thing.
It's true.
It's a
Sucks.
completely useless beverage. Yeah.
Right.
My child self would beg to differ, but
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, but I mean, if you look at it from a strictly nutritional point of view, it's completely useless. So, but good for you though, because a lot of people have a problem kicking that habit, or just say, whatever. It makes it. How do you feel after doing it?
I feel great. And not only do I feel great, I mentioned this in a previous podcast, I forget which one, that now, like after not doing that, well, I mean, I found this out like a few months in, but now whenever I have like a craving for soda, or I'm like, I would really like a drink of soda right now, I have almost zero problem saying no, I don't need it. I can drink water or seltzer or an electrolyte powder drink. I can literally like instantly say I don't need it. Whereas when I was starting off not drinking soda, I literally would instinctually grab for it, like, because when I'm thirsty, that's what I would do. Is just open the fridge. There's an ice cold soda. Grab it, open it, drink it. And when I was trying not to drink soda, I was still instinctually grabbing for it. I'm like, no, drink something else. Drink anything else. Drink 5 bottles of water until you quench your thirst. Just do anything. Just don't drink a can of soda, please. And I did it. And not only is my craving for soda gone, and not only is my willingness to avoid it even when I quote unquote want to have a drink of soda is high, but I also find that I'm more selective. Like I have the ability to not make decisions purely on what I think tastes good, but what I think will make me feel better. And I don't know, it's I one step in the right direction, I believe, because now I'm able to discern not only what I like versus what I don't like, but what is healthy versus what is unhealthy. With that being said, I wouldn't call myself or my diet per se the healthiest of them all, but it is definitely significantly healthier than what I was doing a few years ago. Pete, you saw me in Boston. We don't need to tell the audience, but suffice to say, I've seen better days. I have seen better days. Like now, like today. I think I look good, feel good, smell good, be good.
Okay. Quick question before we move on, because I do want to get the ball rolling on the reel. But was there any food or anything that you wanted to really crave, or you craved anything? Was there something you had to kick from your diet completely that you were just like, damn, this is tough now?
Not really, honestly, because I ate relatively healthy. I mean, yeah, I would eat some hamburgers and pizza once in a while, but it wasn't ever. I've never come to the point where like, oh my god, I'm never gonna. Maybe pizza a little bit, but like, there's also great alternatives that I can have, like cauliflower pizza, cauliflower dough, really good actually.
Dude, mashed cauliflower is extremely underrated. Let me tell you
Telling
something.
Alex knows.
Like mashed potatoes, potatoes are, traditional, but the thing is they're potatoes and they usually get a rep for, being high in glucose and starch and I don't know, making you fat if you have too much. Okay, yeah, I get it. Mashed cauliflower, it tastes almost the same and it's so much healthier, and add some garlic to it. It's wow. It's so good. It is. Pete, you're a good cook. I recommend you make some mashed cauliflower. Bring it to me in the city.
Mashed
please.
cauliflower pizza. It's all good stuff. No, seriously. And I mean, do I have a craving for a pizza once in a while? Yeah, but I just tell myself no. Or you know what happens? I'll get the pizza, and then I'll eat it, and then I'll feel like absolute shit because I haven't had. Here's something that happens and Alex, you'll notice this maybe if you ever do drink a soda again. When you eat really clean and you live a very clean healthy lifestyle, and then you reintroduce something that's not, like if I were to eat a hamburger, I would feel horrible.
That's 100% true. Because I'm like I already told Pete in the podcast I did drink some soda. Like on record, I did go a full year without drinking soda, but like in this October, I did take like a small sip of soda, right? Because it was available to me. I had it, and I didn't like it. Well, I liked it, but not like to the point that I originally liked it. Like the craving I had for it was significantly more like romanticized than the actual drink itself, if that makes sense. Basically, the memory of what I was craving was more delicious than what I actually drank. And it's weird, but it's also reassuring that I'm making the right choice, because then I just drink another bottle of water and cleanse it all out.
Damn, you should be a relationship counselor.
First, I should get some relationships.
Okay, so the meat and potatoes of this talk now. Why did we run a marathon? You obviously ran because you wanted to join the T1D. Is it a charity or a nonprofit? What is it?
It's a non-profit. It's called Beyond Type 1. So they advocate and do research and funding for type 1 diabetes. And
Right.
Provide resources for those newly diagnosed, yes.
Got you. So what possessed you to want to run a marathon, actually? Because I feel like you've told me this, but I don't remember it very distinctly.
Oh, I just wanted to get fucking hard. Right? So, I mean, not gonna lie. So I started at the beginning of the year, there were some things I was looking at in my life, like that I just wanted to improve. And, obviously, what does one do? One stumbles upon David Goggins on YouTube. and you decide that you want to be a hard motherfucker. So what happened was I had never run before, Alex, for your like run like long distances. I do some sprints and stuff and play tennis, but like never ever run more than like 3 miles at a time. And I'm like, you know what? I'd love to just run a marathon and go completely way out of my comfort zone. So I remember I'm telling Pete this in July. We were playing tennis, and I saw that the Beyond Type 1 organization was taking applications, to be part of their team, that they sent to the New York City Marathon. I was like, okay, whatever, I'll sign up. I probably won't get in, because I'm a noob and whatever. But I remember, I was kind of like halfway prepared for it. I was like, I probably won't get in. And then I got an email on August 10th saying, welcome to the Beyond Type 1 team. And I was like, oh, fuck.
You were basically like, oh, now I actually have to prepare for this thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to go to the gym the next morning, and I said, no, you're going to go run. And I had no idea what I was doing. I ran like a 5K in like 23 minutes thinking that this is what a marathon's going to be like. I had zero idea what I was doing. It took me like 3 weeks to actually read up and figure out. But basically, the main reason why I wanted to do it is I wanted to do something that was completely out of my comfort zone, do something that was going to be really difficult, and basically kind of prove to myself that a lot more things are possible than what I think I'm capable of doing.
Mind you, he's also the type of guy that hates running. So, yeah, he can't stand it. On the other hand, I ran in high school. I enjoy running a lot. And like I said, I told Marcus this, and you know this, but ever since tennis is done, or tennis finished in college, I figured that I want to train for stuff. So, like, my first real thing was to train for a marathon before I get to the other things I have planned, right? And so I hear Marcus say he's gotten to New York City Marathon. And I'm like, oh my God, so you're training, right? And this is, I think, early to mid-August that we're talking about this. He's like, yeah, I just started training a couple weeks ago or something. I was like, all right, I'll train with you because I want to run a marathon as well. Granted, I didn't have the luxury of running NYC with him. So I decided, you know what, I'll just register for one around the area. And then a few days later, actually, Jesse tells me, hey, Cambridge Half Marathon is in November. You can just make a weekend out of it, come visit, we'll do whatever we do, and then run the race as well. And since you're already training for a marathon, this will work out perfectly for you.
So Marcus, you ran the marathon. You ran the NYC
Yes,
marathon.
I did. The one and only.
How was it? How'd it go?
It was honestly one of the best experiences of my life. It was amazing, and I would absolutely recommend anybody who wants to either run it's crazy enough to run it or just go outside their comfort zone, absolutely do it. It's an amazing experience.
How did you feel on mile 25 when how does it work? Do they have markers for every mile? Do you know how far you've made it, or are you just aimlessly running until you find the finish line and drag your corpse of a body over the finish line?
Very good question. They do have mile markers for every mile, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And yeah, so you know exactly where you are.
I feel like I would. Do they have numbers on them? Because if it's just markers, I feel like I would lose count and just start hallucinating and say, mile 100.
No, they have big numbers, and then they also have kilometer markers for the European folks.
So you used the KMs, didn't you? You cared about
I was all about them miles, son.
Oh my God, man. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I'm clearly not as hard as you. I ran a half marathon. Now the big, very impressive thing I think about you more so than myself, because I enjoy this stuff. You don't like doing this at all. This is not enjoyable for you. At least 2.5 months ago, it was not enjoyable for you.
Yeah, maybe a little different now. We'll
Yeah, it's way different now. He's afraid to admit it, maybe, but you actually ran a great time for someone that was training for 2.5 months only, because you're not supposed to run a marathon at least until you've trained maybe 4 to 6 months, right? Because Alex, I'm telling you, the amount of physical stress you put your body under during this race, it doesn't matter how slow you're running, it is incredible. It is simply just the amount of stress. It's constant, the constant impact with the ground, constantly moving forward, whatever you got going on the race, like hills or wind or anything. It's a lot.
It's okay, Pete. You know what they say. They say you never feel more alive until you're on the brink of death. So I'm sure everyone running this marathon is going to feel the most alive they've ever felt.
I mean, to an extent, that's exactly how Marcus felt, right? So take us through your race. I mean, I could talk about my race too, but mine was literally just a beautiful course, and I was way too locked in to even think about it anyway. So all I did was just have, like I ran faster than I thought I would, and then,
Yeah,
had
Pete
intense nipple
absolutely
chafing.
murdered it. Pete absolutely murdered it.
We'll see. We could get there, but yeah, tell us about the course. So, because I want to run NYC with you one day, and you're gonna do it again with me.
Oh, for sure.
And we're gonna break 3 hours.
Oh, Jesus. Let's break 4 first. So you get to Fort Wadsworth, which is on Staten Island, and it's just basically all these runners on an island with a bunch of porta potties, and everybody just kind of just getting ready for it, and then they walk you up to the starting line, which is right near the toll booths on the Verrazano Bridge. And then you start, and the first 2.5 miles are just straight uphill on the Verrazano, but you're not even thinking about running because you are just, first of all, you're like, oh my God, I'm running the New York City Marathon. And second, you are on top of the Verrazano Bridge looking at like the most beautiful scenes ever, and you just can't believe that you're there. And it was a gorgeous day. It was, I don't know, it was like maybe 60 degrees Fahrenheit, sun, no clouds, no wind. You saw the city perfectly. You saw the large harbor to the right. You saw the Statue of Liberty. It was just crazy. But you do need to pace yourself within those first 3 miles. You should pace yourself anyway, but especially those because you're going uphill, and you also have a lot of adrenaline because you see a lot of people running by you. Everybody's hyped. It's the marathon, but it took a lot of mental discipline to not jump the gun. Because I was really tempted to start going, and then I realized my heart rate was going up too high, so I really needed to slow myself down. Then you get into Brooklyn, and Brooklyn, the most badass fans on earth.
Yeah, I've heard Brooklyn's electric.
Shout out to Brooklyn.
Massive shout out to Brooklyn. Sick fans all over the place with fantastic signs, giving out high fives, yelling at you, telling you about how great you are. And it was just like absolutely electric, and I was so glad that you could have that experience at the beginning of the race because you're not tired yet, and you're trying to keep track of your pace, and you can run at a nice pace, but you're really taking it all in until you get to the Hasidic Jewish neighborhood where it's completely silent.
That's a contrast.
Yeah, dude, it looked like you saw some of them walk around. They were like pissed and annoyed that you were running through the neighborhood. I swear to God, it was no fans, 0. It was literally all fans for like 7 miles. Mile 8 was just no fans. Then miles 9 through whatever you had fans.
So classic. But yeah, so where do you go after Brooklyn? So the NYC is famous for being run through all 5 boroughs. So obviously you're going north, you're going into Queens, right? Where in Queens do you end up?
You run very briefly in Long Island City, and then you cross over the Queensboro Bridge into Manhattan. So that's about mile 14.
Got you. And I remember during our training, we had what we would do is Marcus had this running plan. It's literally this app called Running with Hal, and it's a great app. I actually am using it now to train for the upcoming, hopefully, Boston Marathon that I will run next spring. And every Saturday we would do our long runs together. So it would be something. Our first one was by far the funniest thing ever. The best joke that we have together is that 7 miles. This was a 7-mile run, and Marcus and I were struggling. This is the first run we had together, and dude, we were just like digging so deep for these 7 miles that it was just there was nothing on earth to stop us from getting 6.99 to 7. Like we were men possessed to get to 7 that day.
Running at 14 minutes a mile. We're so hard. You gotta stay hard, Pete.
Yeah, it was the funniest thing ever, and we could never stop cracking up about it.
So it's an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, dude, 7 miles. It's so funny. Marcus sent me a video earlier of how David Goggins does 7 miles in 52 minutes. on a regular day before he's got to go and
That's
do a
like
podcast.
that's like his light run.
That's his warm up. That's his warm up.
Yeah, it's like a 6:50 pace. It's not that bad. But anyway, so yeah, we're training every Saturday morning, our long runs, and it could be anything. We started off with that 7, then we got all the way up to 20 at our max. And during that training, we picked a few routes that we liked in general, and one of those routes was we meet up at Alley Pond every Saturday, and we would take the what is it? It's not Winchester.
It's Winchester, but it turns into Douglaston Parkway.
Douglaston Parkway. Yeah. So we get on that road, Winchester, go up this small hill, and then we're falling downwards towards Douglaston. And so, obviously, what goes down must come up eventually, right? And we did a lot of long runs through that route because of the very purpose of having that massive hill. And I'm telling you, it's like, what is it, at least a half a mile just straight uphill.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like maybe 200 feet going uphill on Winchester Boulevard. So I remember we had our first real long run, which was 15. And we had that at the tail end, and you and I were heaving. You and I were so exhausted by the end of that. I mean, and then the same thing with the 18-mile and the 20-mile run. Or no, not the 18 miles was a different route, but the 20-mile run, we did that huge hill at the end. And that was all in preparation for the Queensboro Bridge Hill, right?
Which was easy because
Really?
because we did that hill. It was easy. Everyone else on that bridge was dying. I just ran through it like no problem.
Right.
Because I remember I had the back of my head. I'm like, yeah, you remember Winchester? You remember Winchester?
You
Marcus?
remember?
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, that's what's up now. And I made it through easy. I'm telling you, I blasted through that bridge.
And was the gradient of that bridge as steep as Winchester or no?
Nothing on this course was as steep as Winchester.
Wow.
Nothing.
That's incredible.
That's pretty hard, gotta say.
No, it would. And that's why we did it, because we said, by the way, that every last mile of that long run, we would try to run it as hard as we could up that hill. That first 15-miler, Pete almost yacked at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to pull over to the side, and he's just like, yo, bro, I just threw up all over the place.
We were we were literally a quarter of a mile away from Alley Pond, but we had already hit 15. I was like, dude, I need to stop right now or else my whole intestines will be on this pavement. I just couldn't do it. It was grueling, but yeah, so
mind you, we would also run these long runs at like 5 a.m.
Oh my god, that was the best part about it also.
with no breakfast.
Yeah, I remember most of the time because Marcus is a working class citizen and I had other stuff going on as well. So we would just be like, okay. I think one day I proposed to him, dude, why don't we just get up super goddamn early and run like 10 miles or something, because we have to do it anyway. So let's just do it super early. And he looks at me and he's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Are you a morning person, Marcus?
Oh, extreme. Yeah, I get up at 4:45 to go to the gym anyway, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Good for you.
Great experiences waking up at like 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. And then I just remember one day, I think we had a 12-miler on early Friday morning because we had to switch them. And I pull into Alley Pond parking lot. It's only us two, maybe some police car just chilling there. And I pull into the parking lot, and I hear Marcus blasting David Goggins and Cameron Haynes YouTube video of David Goggins putting up like 40 reps on bench when he's already run a marathon and a half in the same day. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, so we're just going to go do a measly 12 miles right now.
Oh god, yeah, and Pete's got a video of me. Who's gonna carry the boats?
Yeah, oh my god, it's hilarious stuff. Dude, it's literally 5 a.m. in the morning. Pitch black outside. We're about to do 14 miles. It's unbelievable stuff. You couldn't forget this. And mind you, we're also both pretty tired because at least, not everybody's feeling amazing at 5 a.m., right? At least I wasn't all the time, but...
You jack yourself up before that, for sure.
It's tough. So you got to get into a mentality that you just attack this somehow, some way. Maybe do some Wim Hof breathing. I don't know. Whatever. Something to get you into a mood to literally just run because it's a tough ordeal.
I guess listening to David Goggins, that'll do it. That'll pump you up.
Well, that guy's a lunatic in the best way. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah. So, anyways, we were talking about the hill. You get to Queensboro, you absolutely demolish it, and then from there you're into the city, right? But you're not in the city. You're not out of the woods yet. You have to go up into the Bronx, right? The South Bronx.
Correct, yeah.
And so you spend like maybe 1 mile in the Bronx, and where does that take you? What mile is that?
So when you're in the city, you run up about another 4 miles until you hit the Bronx. And mile 18 is where I started to feel a little bit shaky in the legs, like it's kind of feel it coming on. And then when you get to in the Bronx is where you hit mile 20. And when you cross over the bridge into the Bronx, because you're only in the Bronx for like a mile, it's very short. You're barely there, and the fans, it shows. There are not many fans there, and I don't blame them. They're barely there. But when you go over this bridge, there's a huge. Someone put up like a huge, like kind of not like a poster, but some sort of sign on the bridge that says, "Welcome to the Wall."
Do you understand what that means, Alex?
So for marathon runners, mile 20 is when you hit what's quote unquote called the wall, which is where your energy, your glycogen stores just get completely zapped and you're just running on pure fumes. The last 6 miles of a marathon are just pure heart.
So this is what do you call it? So this is what you call the hard part, right?
The first 20 miles are easy. It's just these last.
No,
six
literally,
that really
and you know what? It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because I remember I was at mile 16. I'm like, yo, dude, you feel so good. You're a bad motherfucker. You're gonna kill this, right? And then another voice in my head was like, Marcus, don't get cocky, because you're not gonna be
It's
saying
the
this
angel
in a
and the
couple minutes.
demon on both of your shoulders talking to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, right, calm yourself down. And then I started hitting mile 18, 19, 20, and I'm like, oh crap, here comes the wall. Here we're gonna find out a lot about yourself, Marcus.
This is where your true self comes out.
Yeah, and you learn a whole lot about yourself those last 6. So then you re-enter the city, and you're just running down. And your mind is just telling you stop now, and then another part of you is like, fight pain with pain.
It's only pain.
If you're running
It's
through
only pain, mind over body.
if you're going through hell, keep going. You tell yourself anything to keep going. And what the shame is that Manhattan also has great fans, but for those last 6 miles, I cannot remember one face from anywhere. I'm just in my own zone, and then there are slow people in front of me, and I'm in my head like, get the out of my way. I was a man possessed. It was sick.
It's incredible. Dude, and Louise, your girlfriend was there, right? She was watching you, like, I think because you had videos and everything just of her at every big checkpoint or something.
Yeah, she got around 4 times. She got to see me 4 times. So
Nice.
Saw me in Brooklyn when I was doing great. Saw me in Queens when I was doing good. Saw me in Manhattan when I was getting a little arrogant there. And then she saw me on like mile 22 when it was hurting.
He was down horrendously in Manhattan, mile 22, 23. And then, okay, so, you're basically 2-3 miles away. What's going through your head right now?
Run 1 more mile. Just give me 1 more. And then when you get to that one, give me another one.
Yeah.
And the problem at the end is that people are so excited that you're almost done. And they're like, come on, you almost ran a marathon, right? And in my head, I'm just going, I don't even know what state of mind. A marathon really takes your mind a place where it's never been. And in my head, I'm just like, you're not fucking done yet, Marcus. You're not fucking done yet. Because you just don't want to give yourself that like slight relief that you're done, because you know you're not done. And meanwhile, my body's cramping, by the way. So mile 23 is where I started to really go into cramps in my hamstrings, my hips, and my quads. And I'm just telling myself, you're not done yet. Give me 1 more. Give me 1 more. And then, yeah, that's just kind of how it goes.
The rest is history, right? And you ran your last mile as the fastest one that you ran in
Correct.
total, correct?
No way.
Yeah, I ran the last one I ran like 8:53 or something, yeah.
Yeah. So his whole goal, I actually, the morning of, because I had to race the same day, obviously, I sent him a little something, something. And I told him, you better beat this goddamn time, man. You trained for this. And needless to say, he was stuck in a group that was way slower than he should have seated himself. He basically just Dunning-Kruger affected himself in a way, if you know what I'm saying, right?
Oh, there's shifts, like there's different groups.
Yeah,
of
so
the
there's
people?
five. There's five waves. There's waves one through five. One is the Kenyans and the Ethiopians, and then
The champions.
Correct. Yeah, and then two through five are the more human people. But basically, what you put on. So you have to decide by September 16th what your estimated pace is going to be or what your estimated finish time is going to be, and then they sort you out by there. So at the time, I had no idea how good or bad I was going to be, so I put conservatively 5 hours, which automatically puts you in the back wave. So I'm running with the people who are slower and running around that pace, so the last 10 miles, I'm basically swerving in and out, and when I checked my watch, I actually ran 26.75 miles. So I ran almost half a mile more than a marathon.
What?
Because
How
he
does
was
that?
he was constantly having to go side to side instead of straight line on the course.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You
Gotta
were
love
literally,
that, right?
you were literally like dodging metaphorical traffic with the people. You were literally going around everyone. You were running laps while running a marathon. You're
Yeah,
crazy.
and then there were people in the middle of the thing fucking texting and just like walking and texting, FaceTiming, calling. I'm like, what the fuck are you people doing? Are we here to get after it or not?
Oh, that's hilarious. So actually, I told Marcus the day of, you better break goddamn 4 hours because we worked our asses off for this to get here. And I know you can because 4 hours is like 9 minutes a mile pace. And so I'm like tracking Marcus the whole day also because I had already raced early morning. My race was 7 a.m. and Marcus goes off around 12. And so I'm tracking him, looking at the NYC Marathons app, and I'm seeing like the splits in the miles and what time he's coming in. I'm like, you better get after it right now. You are coming in like 3 minutes too slow. And then he shows me his watch time and everything that he had to go through that day, and he's like, yeah, I got under 4 hours, son.
Wow.
So he did it. He did it.
Technically, it doesn't say that in the the NYRR road history books, I guess. But
Yeah, of course.
it was still a 4:03, which is not shabby for someone who hasn't really run before. I'm totally proud of it, and I'm still satisfied with it, so I don't care.
Wait. So how much was the total distance on your tracker?
I believe it was. Hold on, I can pull it up right now.
His time was 4:03 for.
No, but how the distance? How much did he run?
So a regular marathon is 26.2. I ran 26.71.
You ran a half mile more.
4 hours and 3 minutes. So you ran, dude. You definitely like.
I mean, we can calculate it. So I ran 26.71 in 4 hours and 4 minutes and 43 seconds.
Yeah.
What is your typical average mile when you were training? 9 minutes, 8 minutes,
Well,
10 minutes.
Pete and I were doing that zone 2 training.
Yeah, so we were. I mean, like I said, the 7 miles, we started at 14 minutes. And the funniest thing also is that every time we get like remotely close to 135 BPM or higher, we'd be like, slow down, slow down, slow down. You can't go faster or else we're going to die or something. And no, after that, we realized, oh, yeah, this is stupid. We can just go a little higher, a little lower, or whatever. So we worked our way from 14 a mile to I think nearly 9 a mile at one Marcus also has a naturally lower BPM range than me, so like we'd be running at 9 to 10 minutes a mile where he's at 130 BPM. I'll be like around 140 145, but it's around the same amount of work we're putting in.
Yeah, so Alex, to briefly explain what zone 2 training is, it's basically it's about 60 to 70% of your heart rate max. And what it does is it uses exclusively fat as energy source for, in order to keep you going. And what you want to do is when you're marathon training is you want to run in this zone on your long runs so that you can build a really good endurance base so that for the run, you can increase your heart rate without sacrificing kind of your energy stores. So that's why we did it. And we know it sounds ridiculous that we did 14 minutes a mile on mile set the first time, but towards the end we were doing the exact same heart rate at like under 10 almost. So we improved within those 3 months. So I knew going in for the marathon, obviously you're gonna give it your all. So my average heart rate was much higher than it was on any of my training runs.
Of course.
Yeah. So
Wait, so does someone have a calculator or their phone out?
yeah, we've got them. Why?
Can you do 240 divided by 27?
8.888888889.
So 8.9. So you ran almost 27 miles, roughly under 9 minutes a mile. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, not bad for a first time. I got after it. Oh yeah, I stayed hard. I'm not gonna lie. I stayed pretty hard for that race. I'm telling
Dude,
you.
you ran your fastest lap at the last lap. Who does that?
I mean, to be fair, I didn't. My race was a little shorter, so I could tell you about mine because mine was way faster than I expected it to be.
Oh yeah,
I texted you.
I saw Pete's message at like 7 at night. This dude flew.
I freaked out when I saw the time when I was on the last straightaway. But no, actually, before I get to this, what was your feeling like crossing the finish line? Like, how did you feel getting across the finish line?
I couldn't believe it. Like I just couldn't believe that I just stopped.
Pure ecstasy. I
Yeah,
imagine.
like the last there's a sign when you get to after mile 26. It tells you like, oh, these are the last 800 meters. Those were the longest 800 meters of my life.
Your whole life flashing before your eyes. Everything you've done up until that moment, just like it's all a blur. All the people cheering you, it's just hazy noises, and it's just everything's all happening.
You're just so present, it's unreal, and you just tell yourself, you just one more step, one more step, one more step, and then you finally cross the finish line, and you just can't believe that you just did that. You're not even thinking about it. You're just like honestly you're just thinking nothing.
It's just a euphoric sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, you can barely walk, but you could run. But you can barely walk because your legs have been doing this for 4 hours straight.
Yeah. The muscle memory in your legs just want to keep moving.
Correct, and you just kind of slowly walk, and you're just like, whoa. I just took my mind. It's not even about the body, dude. You just take your mind to places that it's never been. That's like more than 50% of the reason why I ran the marathon.
Nice. Well, I'm sure Pete's already said this, but I'll say it to you as well. Congratulations. Good job, and I'll see you next year.
Are you gonna run with me, Alex?
Sure, why not?
Oh, no way! Wow. Okay, you know that you're holding yourself accountable not only in front of us, but whoever's listening, right?
All right, fine. I'll do it. I'll crazily do it. Unless something happens, which I may or may not be hoping for.
Alex gonna be a bad motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
All right, 2022 is the year Alex runs a marathon. # work hard.
Ooh, I'm with it.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
with it.
Hell yeah.
I'm with it.
So I can mine wasn't nearly as vivid as yours. Like I said, I barely remember anything. I barely remember my course. I went out we had I think 4 or 5 waves, one corral because there was only about 3,500 people in my race. Yours had 50,000, right?
Like 25 actually.
Oh, okay. I mean, same thing basically. And I'm in the first group. I'm in the lead group for my race because I paced myself. I put myself for 145, which is around 8:30 a mile or something like that. So I said, okay, I'm gonna aim for 145. That's my goal. And so I go out there and I'm trying to find the pacers because there are pacers in our race for 8:15, 7:15 a mile, blah blah blah. And then I realize I'm looking at my watch and I go out my first 2 miles at like 6:20 per mile for those first
Nice.
2. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And all of a sudden I catch the 7:15 pacer who started way ahead of me. And I said, okay, you know what? Let me draft off of this person for now. And then I realized, I think like mile 4, mile 5, that I start cramping my right leg. And I'm like, oh shit, this can't really be happening right now. So I'm just praying that it doesn't get any worse, right? But then as we go on, I'm also thinking this pacer is going way faster than 7:15 a mile, because I for sure hauled ass to get up to him, and I ran way 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 faster than his current pace. And I was looking at what our splits were and everything, and I was putting in like 7:07, 7:06s. And like I said, I trained with Marcus the whole time, so there's absolutely no way that we were running that fast and I wasn't gonna just like dry heave something by mile 10 or mile 9, you know. So I was really surprised. But then I think around mile 8 or something, there was a really shitty part of the course where there was just mud and water and everything, and everybody was kind of corralled around it and just herded themselves around like sheep, and I unfortunately did the same. I was so mad at myself.
He went soft.
Yeah, I should have just ran straight through the water because it screwed my pace up, and then I lost the pacer shortly thereafter.
Was it like a big puddle, like a hole, or was it just
Yeah,
muddy
it was
floor?
literally under a bridge where for maybe 10 feet or more, there was just a shit ton of water and a shit ton of mud, and everyone was trying to find the driest place to run through. But anyways, yeah, so that screwed my pace up, and then after like about a mile later, the 7:15 group is losing me, and so I'm just sticking to my guns and saying, all right, you know what, try to keep like a 7:20, 7:25 pace the rest of the way. And I tried that, and it hurt. It definitely hurt because I had not run that fast at all. I tried a race pace 9-mile run 3 weeks before, and that hurt. That was around 8:30 a mile, and I texted Marcus right after saying, dude, I just did this run and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. So I don't know what happened in those 3 weeks. Maybe it was just the day of those overnight oats that myself and Jesse made. It had something in them that was just incredible. I don't know what she put in them, but shout out to you, Jesse. And anyway, so I'm coming around the final turn for my race because there are fans in Cambridge. Obviously, there are a lot of people in that city, but it's nothing like New York, right? So there's fans everywhere, whatever, and then you get around the final turn and it's about 0.1 or 0.2 miles to go, and then everybody's literally there because it's the finish line, right? And I see my time and it says 1:33 something on the clock, and I'm still about 200 300 meters away, and I say, what? There's absolutely no way that this has happened. This has to be fake, because I didn't think I was running that fast, and my watch is notorious for being a little bit off. Like, because Marcus's watch is very, very accurate. He's done the Google Maps fact check, everything, and mine would always give me wrong readings on pace. So I was like looking at my watch. Sometimes I'd see 7:15, 7:09, whatever. I'd be like, okay, this is probably kind of bullshit. I'm definitely running a little slower than that. And then I see the race clock and I cross the line around 1:34, 1:35, and I'm like, how do you just mistime your running pace by 10 minutes? So yeah,
You were 10 minutes early, basically.
I was 10 minutes early, and I was, I was in a lot of pain. The most amount of pain, actually, and I have no trouble, absolutely no qualms admitting this, was in fact the chafing I experienced. Nothing else. My legs were fine.
Ooh, the chafing
Nasty.
Jesus.
Was so painful that it still hurt 2 to 3 days after. And there's leg soreness, but I've dealt with that before, as all athletes have, right? The chafing, dude, oh my God. I've never felt like that before. It was just made me delirious.
Is there any thing to do about that, or that's just one of those things you tough it out?
Jesse recommended Vaseline to me literally before we left that morning, and I said, no, I'm fine.
Oh, dude, you gotta know if you're a chafer or not, man.
I didn't know until that day.
Oh, Jesus.
It was brutal.
Well, think of it this way. At least you learned in a half marathon and not at a full marathon.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, that's the funniest thing too, because it was a little colder. It was around 45, 50 degrees up in the Boston area, and I was very much overheating, so I went on with gloves. I had a long sleeve shirt on and shorts, and I think about mile 4, mile 5, I took the gloves off because I said I cannot wear these anymore. It's just way too hot. And then I was just so warm to the point, but also a little numbed by the cold, that I didn't feel anything. So then I'm crossing the finish line, and I see bloodstains all over my shirt, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? Where am I bleeding? You could connect the dots together on this one, right?
Yeah. I don't need more detail.
It was tough. It was tough. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. I didn't run nearly as much as Marcus that day, but I had a great and profound sense of bliss crossing that finish line and knowing that I got after it at least half as much as Marcus did that day. And it was fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'm most definitely going to run many marathons in the future, and many, at least I'm going to train for Boston now, so I'm hoping that Marcus will make his way up there with me.
Ooh, I don't know.
Oh, for in the spring? Yeah, I'm probably not gonna run that one with you.
No, I have ideas of how I could qualify, but that is the goal right now. I do want to run the Boston Marathon, and I want to run it under 3:30. That is my time to beat.
What?
Savage goal.
Mark is giving me that look right now.
Savage goal,
What's
but I
so
wouldn't hold-
3:30? Is that like a good time?
That's 8 minutes a mile.
8 minutes a mile, and these Ethiopians are doing 2 hours, under 2 hours.
Well, okay, only one person has done that.
Slightly,
Okay.
like a couple minutes over 2, yeah.
So roughly 2 hours, 2 hours 10 minutes, 26 miles.
Those guys are running 450s for 26 miles.
Okay, that's maybe outside my comfort zone a little bit.
In the realm of feasibility, Alex, I would say that you are most definitely not 130 pounds nor 5'6". I don't think it's happening for you, man. But
I
hey,
don't know
to
that.
each their own. I wish you all the best in your endeavor.
It's not about the
So-
results, Alex. It's about getting...
No, it's the journey. It's crossing. It's just discovering who you are in the matter of several hours of nonstop running.
It's all about getting after it and staying hard.
Yeah, that's the name of this episode. Getting hard.
Oh my god. Oh, and by the way, just to mention, the most, besides the fact that I actually ran a marathon, the most mind-blowing thing of the whole marathon was that I kept my blood sugar in between 115 and 130 for 4 hours straight.
Yeah, that part was insane to me because, like I said, Marcus is always checking this thing on runs, and sometimes it would literally just skyrocket, and he hadn't eaten anything. He'd be like, why the fuck is my blood sugar all out of whack right now? So I'm just thinking, I don't know, did you eat something before? You had too much sugar, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's weird. Your body's messed up.
Yeah, and then I remember one time we went on a run with Pete, and we had to like stop after like mile 3 because I had a really low blood sugar, so we had to stop for like 15 minutes. And I would go. One time I ran it through a couple of low blood sugars, which is I for all the diabetics out there, do not do that. Do not recommend it. My eyes were like in the back of my head. But
Ouch.
yeah, I just couldn't believe I ran this thing between 115 and 130. I kept it. I ate like a goo pack every 4 or 5 miles and had Gatorade and water every single mile. It was unreal. So that was what I was most proud of, honestly.
Do you take it while running? Like you just grab it, eat it, and keep running, or do you like stop for a second?
Stop when you're done.
you stop when you're done or you're dead. No in betweens.
Correct. I took one bathroom break at mile 3. That was it.
That's mile 3. That's when you're like still on cloud 9. It's like, hey, I'm doing the thing. That's not the hard part.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Those last 6 miles, I would have pissed my pants if I had to. I didn't care. I was getting through that thing.
Yeah, honestly, Alex, I gotta say, and we had this when we were doing our 15 or 16 training runs, we literally could not stop. Like when you get to that amount of distance and your body is just exposed to that much running for so long, it hurts more to stop. Like I remember we'd be running on sidewalks and stuff, and then we'd see a red light because cars stopped or whatever, and then Marcus would just be there bouncing on his toes like 15 miles in. I'd be like, how are you doing this? And mind you, I was doing the same thing, but I was in a lot of pain, right? And we're thinking, just don't stop because it's gonna hurt so much more if you have to stop and start again. You just need to keep going. Your body gets acclimated. It's almost it's an adaptive thing right here. You literally just have one goal, and that is to keep doing exactly what you're doing, because if you don't do that thing, then your body will just resist that change. So
the muscle memory is so strong after running for so long that your body's punishing you for stopping.
Basically.
Correct.
Sweet. That's for a guy like me who hates running, period. That sounds so much fun.
Dude, you got no idea. I hate running as just as much as you, but it's weird because it's weird how your mind kind of works because once you accomplish like a 12 miler, you're like, I want to see if I can do 14. And then when you do 14, you're like, I want to see if I can do 16. And you're like, I want to see if I can do 18. And then you're like, I want to see if I can do 26. And you just really want to see what you're capable of, and then while you're doing it, you just can't believe it.
And then you'll be like Pete, where he says he wants to do an ultra marathon, which is 100 miles, because he's crazy.
Pete and I are running, and not exact year, but TBD, we are running Leadville 100. Book it.
Without a doubt happening. I mean,
Leadville?
Leadville, Colorado.
Okay, so Alex, I think I've told you these plans already. So obviously I need to get a marathon in. I want to get a couple of marathons in. Marcus, the other day, Marcus was like, okay, so there are 5 or 6 big marathons in the world. We're going to do every single one. And I was like, okay, man, I'm down. But also, no, I want to run an Ironman. I think I've told you that one already. That's, I think, in a year and a half.
How much is that?
Goal. That is a 2.5 mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and a marathon run all into one triathlon race.
Is bicycle riding hard?
It depends how high the hills are.
I mean, for 112 miles?
I can imagine it's a little difficult.
If it's 112 downhill, I could do that.
Yeah, okay, anyone can do that.
I would be the best, I'd say.
Okay, good point. So, yeah, that's then. And then I just want to get my number of working hours up and up and up to see. I just want to push the boundaries, you know? So, yeah, Leadville 100. It's a 100-mile ultra marathon in the mountains of Colorado. It's worth it, and we're gonna get there one day.
One day.
I'll be there in a I'll be the guy in the motorcycle or the scooter behind you, just following you.
Making sure we don't die.
Yeah.
He's just making sure we're staying hard enough.
That'd be perfect.
But going back to what you said about when you're running and you reach a certain point where you want to keep going, yeah, I totally agree. I'm not crazy, so I didn't run like over 10 miles.
Not yet.
The 2 fools I'm looking at, but I was running this summer to get in shape. Pete, I think I told you about this. And so basically I was doing 3-mile, 4-mile runs, and the first few weeks I was doing it almost every day. And the first few weeks I was hating it, and I was stopping a lot because I was out of breath. And I don't know how marathon training works, but for me personally, since I wasn't doing it for any goal other than to get better, to get in better shape, to have stronger legs and better endurance, I would not torture my body. So whenever I was feeling tired, I would stop and take a deep breath and try to recuperate and then keep going. And the first few days, the first week or two, it sucked because I was stopped maybe 10 times in the 3-mile, 4-mile run. But after a week or two, I started to not stop. I started to do it less. When I started feeling tired or cramping, I would keep going for longer distances before deciding to stop. And eventually there came points where I was not stopping at all. I was able to run 3 miles straight. Like 1.5 miles is completely uphill, which I guess for marathon runners such as yourselves, that might not sound impressive. But to me, that, I don't know, I felt pretty accomplished that, hey, I can run up a hill 1.5 miles nonstop. And after a month or two, I started not sprinting up the hill, but I was able to sprint maybe a quarter or a third of the hill and then medium run the rest of the way. And it's just that constant improvement, that constant, I started off barely doing 3 miles while stopping, to reaching a point where I can not sprint the whole way, but almost do it leisurely. Is in I could run it without. It didn't feel it didn't feel as an arduous task. It felt proper. It felt good. It felt good. It felt good to run because it wasn't so hard. So I guess I mean maybe that's a different feeling, but I like to think that's similar to what you were saying. How the constant improvement when you reach a certain level, there's an innate desire, maybe for everyone or maybe just for us, just to want to go further, to run faster, to run longer, or just to go harder, whatever, however you want to phrase it. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. I got a question for you, and it just popped into my head. When you said before that in the beginning you were stopping because you didn't want to put your body through torture, is that what you said, right?
Yeah,
Was it really your body that you didn't want to put through torture, or your mind?
probably both. But listen, I don't like hard stuff, or that.
Nobody
How do I
does.
put this? I like a challenge, but I need to be in the zone. I need to like want it, you know? And in the beginning, I was doing those 3 mile runs more. It felt more like a chore, if that makes sense. I was doing it because it was quote unquote good for me. I wasn't doing it because I want to run. I was doing this because I want to lose weight. I want to get faster. I was I was getting a little bit back into tennis, so I wanted my footwork to get better. So I was doing it not for the running. I was doing it for a multitude of other reasons. And that's probably what it wasn't quote unquote an enjoyable experience. But as time went on, it became less and less of a chore for other reasons and more a reason for itself. Like I wanted to run for the sake of running, not I want to run because it's good for me. The same way, the same similar with the soda. I didn't at first I wasn't drinking soda because I deliberately said I don't want to drink soda. But then there came a point where I wasn't drinking soda because I genuinely didn't want to drink soda. And I feel that difference makes a difference because if you don't want to do it, you can't put your full heart into it, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a valuable lesson to learn there because, like for instance, I mentioned Wim Hof very briefly, but you can put yourself in the most strenuous conditions and literally you can do terrible things to your body. You can literally cut off a finger. You could put yourself in extreme heat, extreme cold, whatever. Stuff that is just not normal and it hurts. It hurts so bad. But your brain is so much more powerful than that pain and it will find a way to survive as long as you tell it to. And by the way, it's up to you to actually take control of that feeling, right? You have the ability to control that completely. So when someone tells me, "Oh, this is going to hurt," you psych yourself out by telling yourself it's going to hurt, right? Instead, just tell yourself, "I'm going to do it no matter what." You know? And so what you did was over time and exposure chiseled your mind into thinking, "Okay, I can actually get this done and feel less pain," you know? So yeah, granted at the beginning, you probably thought that it was your body making all those decisions about how much you were hurting.
I mean, yes, I fully do accept the mind over body mentality. I understand that we can do anything we put our minds to, but at the same time, all three of us were athletes. We understand that you're not going to be tomorrow just because you really really want to. I think we need to be honest with ourselves and say even if you're fully determined, you need to be determined in the long run, not just tell yourself you're going to do it, but hold yourself responsible to do it over and over and over again. Because you guys trained for the marathon and half marathon for months. Is that fair to say? Months.
Yeah, 3
Yeah,
months.
yeah, 3 months.
So it's not like you guys said, "Oh, we're going to do it," and then you sat at home eating potato chips and watching TV. You guys put your mind to it and said, "We're going to run this marathon," and every day you did exercise that you really like wanted to do because you wanted to run the marathon, so you were willing to do all the training that went into doing the marathon. When I started running, I didn't do it with a vision per se. I didn't do it with a goal. I did it almost out of spite per se. But I soon, when things started, because I said I started running when it got easier. That's half true. I didn't start running. I didn't keep running. I didn't start feeling joy towards running when I could run the full 3 miles, 4 miles with no trouble. It was simply the sight of the improvement of I was stopping so much versus I wasn't stopping as much anymore that made me think, can I do it better? Can I run faster and can I run longer without stopping? And it was just those little improvements because I was running the same course over and over and over again around my neighborhood. So I could benchmark how far I got before getting tired. And I could visually and physically see how far I could get before my mind or my body or both collapsed and didn't want to do it anymore. And I feel those indications and seeing how the bar keeps getting put higher and higher, I was basically competing with myself in a way. I was just pushing myself as saying, you ran this much yesterday at this speed. Can you do it faster? Let's see. Let's go. Go, go, go. And just, I don't know, charge myself up. I started skipping out of the home ready to run, whereas in the beginning, I just flat out just dragged my body outside and ran. And I really do feel, like you said, the mind is really, like, you need to want it. If you don't want it, you're basically torturing yourself at that point.
Which is the point.
Yeah, but there's a difference between wanting to torture yourself versus not want. Like, that's the difference, I'd say.
I did not want to run those 15 milers with Pete. I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to go run those.
I think you did. I think you wanted to run that marathon and you knew what it took, so you did it. You wanted it deep down.
I'll tell you what I definitely don't like to do and don't want to do is go to the gym at 4:45 in the morning.
Well,
But I think basically, Alex, that you just kind of talked yourself into getting hard.
well,
We just let you ramble on and get yourself into getting hard, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah, you've already fallen into the master plan. And I mean, you already admitted that you're going to run with us anyway, so.
yeah. Unless something happens, so
Oh, don't plan something to happen then.
don't
Yeah,
plan
we
a
see-
trip
we
on
see
that
right through
weekend.
it.
That being said, Marcus is also doing his own little thing. If people want to find you, where can they find you, Marcus?
Yeah, so I'm with my friend Frankie Nicolazzi. We are running the Breakpoint podcast about tennis, everything from beginner stuff to professional tour tennis going on. So you can find us on Instagram at Breakpoint Podcast 7, or if you want to hit us up on Gmail, we got at Breakpoint Podcast 7 at gmail.com with any suggestions, topics, anything. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Maybe Pete and Alex will put my link in the bio of this episode, and that'll be awesome to hear from you guys. And yeah, so I had a great time. Thank you guys for having me and let me kind of speak my story here.
Absolutely. There's nothing more that I'd like to see than people getting after it and people
Stay positive.